Hi, welcome to the second video about the human mind. So I'm just gonna continue where I ended up. So I was talking about what, like the parts of the mind, a short recap. 80% is unconscious, about 12% is pre-conscious, like your memories, the things you can become aware of if you wish, and only 8% is actually a conscious or the aware mind. And what most psychologists wouldn't say, probably, but in my opinion is the absolute and total truth. Sadly, the conscious mind very often doesn't have a different function in a human's life than just to find excuses for behavior that is totally decided by the unconscious mind. So we think we make a conscious decision, and we always have a reason, we think of a reason why we made this decision, but actually it is decided for us by our unconscious mind. I mean, it is a part of us, of course. But I demonstrated how it works also very often, because very often you know intuitively in any situation what would be the right thing to do. And the right thing to do you would know without thinking about it, usually. If depending on some factors, but for very quite a few of people, this is the truth. If you wouldn't turn on your mind, you would know what is the best way to go. But then you start getting the input from your unconscious mind in form of thoughts of different kind, and you might not even question if these thoughts are actually rational or not. You might think they're rational, but sometimes they're really not, because someone, like a thought telling you you're not good enough to do that, or you don't deserve to do that, or whatever. For many people that sounds like the truth, but the truth is it's just an opinion, and this means it's like only a point of view. So if you choose to believe that, it becomes your own truth, because this is what you choose to believe. But actually you can also choose to believe something else. You can choose to believe you can make it. You can choose to believe to do it anyway, even if a part of you thinks you can't. Or even if a part of you wants to go and have fun and not care about something that maybe needs to be done. It might be a better idea to do what needs to be done first, and then you can go and have party and have fun and whatever. It's just a matter of the priorities. I don't think this, like, any part of this is bad. It's okay. It's just okay. It's just a part of the unconscious mind. Even like if you want to go party and whatever, do that. It's fun. I've done my share of it in my life, so it's okay. The thing is, what I am trying to teach you, and what you will learn at one level or another, is that you can learn to have a choice, a real choice. Because sometimes, if you're very honest with yourself, there is a feeling you don't actually have a choice, that you have a drive in yourself to do something that is so strong, it feels so strong, that you think you really have to do it. And that's why you do it. And that is because this part of your mind hasn't got enough training yet. So it just lets these impulses that come from the unconscious mind take control of you. And maybe, I mean, it's I know it's something that is hard to hear and maybe even hard to believe, that you don't have a choice. I mean, you do have a choice on a part, but what the conscious mind is programmed to believe is that it is the one making the decisions, which is just not the case. You don't have to believe me. It's fine if you don't. If this is hard to believe, it's fine. But I can tell you, from also my own experience, is then when you train your rational mind, you will start noticing. Maybe you will start noticing it with other people. It's very easy to find fault with other people, to find, something wrong with someone else. So maybe it would start there, but at a point you might start notice stuff with you. You might notice, oh my God, why am I thinking this? I don't want to think this. And then you will go, okay, so if I notice a thought and I think I don't want to think this, then there has to be two of me. The one that notices this thought and says, I don't want to think it, and the other that's sending this thought. It's like there is two. And the truth is, actually, which is the difference to Freud. That's why I'm talking about it. Like Freud was talking about the it and the Über-Ich. I'm not sure how it is in English, like over ego, Über-ego. But that's like, that would be maybe parent and child in a way. I wouldn't really say it's the same. But actually, the real truth is there is much more than that. Like I'm gonna talk about a few layers just to get them out there to the board, so you would know that they are there. Because next to child and a parent, I briefly commented on it. There's also something called the karmic imprint, which is, it doesn't really matter if you believe in karma or not. It's just let's imagine there is something like karma from some. It might even not be individual. It might be on a more global level. I'm not gonna go into that too much, but let's just say every child gets an imprint. Almost every child gets an imprint that is karmic in nature. So it is not a clean slate in a way. It gets things from somewhere else. So that's one part. The other part is so karma with a K or C. I don't know. I'm gonna write it with a K. Karma. And on the other part is the genetic lineage. So this is very interesting because there is actually also research about it, like the neurological and psychological research. They found out there is something like a genetical imprint, that you actually get imprinted with some emotions, with some traumas that didn't actually happen to you at all, but happened somewhere down the genetic line that you are born into. So even if your parents don't actually talk about it, but some trauma, like I don't know, your predecessors were refugees and had to go, or they lost everything, or they were perpetrators in a war, like living in Germany, you get a lot of this kind of genetic lineage of people feeling guilty for something they didn't do, but their predecessors did do or might have done. So this is the kind of a more global social, like on a like there is a part that is your genetics, like what your predecessors done, but there is also a part that gets just imprinted from the surroundings around you. So from the society you're born into. Depending, are you in a rich part of town, in a poor part of town, what kind of a country it is, are the people optimistic or not? Culture is a very, very important part of what gets imprinted in your conscious mind as well. So that's that. And there is something also which is very important to say. That is something that Eckhart Tolle, if you ever heard of him, if not, it doesn't matter. Oh, this is now a flower, calls the pain body. So, what is a pain body? It is an emotional field of energy. It sounds very esoteric, but it isn't. It is, let's say, usually when we have any emotion come up, negative emotions come up, we tend to not just let it go through us and then go out and then we're free of it, but actually, when you're mad, you're not only mad for a few seconds and then it goes away, but you're mad for hours, and then in a few days later you get mad about what happened a few days ago, and then you're mad for a few hours more, and it goes on and on. And it's the same with someone did you harm, or something made you sad, or something made you feel ashamed or guilty or whatever. So whatever it is, the thing is that these emotions don't actually leave your field of energy, or maybe if you want to call it, they don't even leave your body in a way. That is why you get aches and pains in your body. It's usually this negative emotional energy that is trapped in your body. So this is a bit like the it that that Freud talks about. In a way it's not. It is in a way that it is an entity. The pain body has an agenda, and like Eckhart Tolle would say that the agenda of the pain body is something that sounds totally crazy, but hear me out, that the agenda of the pain body is to accumulate more pain. So the agenda of the pain body is to accumulate more pain and to cause more pain to yourself and to others. So that is the main reason for dysfunctional relationships, for example. Because, for example, when you meet someone and you find this person attractive, as I say, sometimes you think it's a conscious decision, but very often it isn't. And very often, sadly, the one who's making the choice is your pain body. Because your pain body is looking for a person who is going to give it exactly the kind of pain it wants. And that is in return going to give the pain body of the other person exactly what it wants. That's why you have a lot of dysfunctional relationship where people are fighting all the time, where there is emotional or physical abuse. It is because there is actually a part of both parties that want just that. And there are different kinds of pain bodies. There are pain bodies that are attuned to anger, there are pain bodies attuned to sadness, pain bodies attuned to shame, guilt, fear, all the different negative emotions. So this is very interesting because very often it's like the same story as I told with having thoughts come from the child or parent part of you. Quite often you get an impulse that comes directly from your pain body, and usually if this part of you, like the rational part of you, is not trained enough, the aware part of you is not trained enough, the pain body is just gonna take control over you and do its thing. So, it's like this kind of situation when you have a child that is in its world, it's having fun, and it's like dancing and singing all the time, but you have a headache. So, it's okay. Like, everyone here is, like, both parties is okay. The child is just having fun, and you have a headache. But because you have a headache, the pain body maybe has an easier time coming through you, and you scream at the child, saying, "Stop singing! You should stop singing!" Or whatever. You say, "You're a terrible singer, stop that, it's getting on my nerves," whatever. And like the moment you say, maybe not the moment you say it, but like hours after you say it, you feel guilty about it. Because like, wow, why was I so mean to the child? That was not necessary at all. But it just happens. And very often, especially in even more so between adults, you notice sometimes someone says something and it triggers something in you that you react almost fully automatically to it, no matter what kind of a reaction it is. But the emotional reaction that comes just takes over you and acts for you. That is the pain body. So I think like all people had at least one situation in their life when this happened. Even in small things, even small things can trigger you and you get into a negative kind of frequency. So these are like genetics, pain body, karma, child, parent, and all the other figures that were important in your childhood and life get imprinted as archetypes in your subconscious mind and are just a second to karma, for example, to give an example of a karma. If you have been, also it's the same with genetics, it's very similar. If you have a karmic imprint of someone who was abused in your past life or in have suffered injustice in your past life, let's say it like that, you might become unjust in this life. Or let's not talk about but maybe if you have in your karmic imprint the imprint of injustice happening to you, you might be the one being unjust in now. So this is kind of, you don't have to believe it, it sounds very esoteric, but in my experience with working with people, this is very often true. And when you become very aware, you even become aware of that. You become aware what part of your behavior is actually not of your experience in this life at all, but comes from somewhere else, no matter where this else comes from. So the main goal, I would say, in a person's life, in my opinion, is to become free of this behavior. But because actually the truth is, when you don't train your aware mind, when you don't train your awareness, you do not have a choice. So you are not free. You are, in a way, slave to your unconscious mind. And you, like, the good news is you can become totally free of it. Like, this is like a part of the process, is like when this part, like your aware mind, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, it can become as big as it, like bigger than you might think. And the bigger it becomes, the smaller is the influence of the subconscious or the unconscious, because it can't really work, because you would even notice the workings of the pain body. You might even notice before you react automatically to any given situation, that you actually have a choice not to react, or to react differently, or do whatever, but you have a choice. The difference is, in that moment you have a choice. Right now, you most probably don't. You just react. It's just an automatic reaction. And you shouldn't be feeling guilty or feeling ashamed or whatever because this is so not only for you but for the vast majority of humankind. But the good news is you can get free of it. And how do you get free of it? So this is like what most people don't want to hear. Like, one possibility is just starting meditating, starting being more mindful, starting reading some spiritual books that are, even watching this video in a way, although it might not seem so, is something that is strengthening your awareness, because I'm explaining things to you that have previously been unaware to you. So now they come into awareness, and the aware part of you becomes a bit stronger. It can become only as strong as you are willing to let it become. I don't know if this was the right sentence, but it is your decision if your awareness grows or not. And it is not a decision anyone can take away from you. So you might grow in awareness while watching these videos. You might not. You might think like everything I'm talking about is complete bullshit and, totally useless waste of time. Why did I hear it? Whatever, which is fine. But even then, a part of your aware mind might have gained in strength, because even if there is a part of you that's saying, oh, I don't like his face, I don't like what he's saying, whatever, there might be a part that is getting more weird, that is maybe hearing things that sound true, in a way. This is how it works mostly for most people. So, yeah. This is the first part, like the end of the first part. It had to be cut in two because it is quite of a topic. But I'm going to continue there in the next video, where I'm going to try to explain some more about the unconscious mind and how desire and craving emerges and what it really means. It is actually a bit about the pain body, a bit about some things that most people have absolutely nothing about. So stay tuned and come again if you wish, and see you soon. Bye.